6:30, so we're going to get started. If you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call of board members.
Kester.
Here.
Aaron's.
Here.
Slopsma.
Here.
Hoeksema. Present. Milnick.
Here.
All right, now we're here to set, adjust, and approve the meeting agenda. So does anybody have any adjustments to the agenda?
I would like to add an invocation for 9/11.
Okay, and where would you like to add that?
Like D.
Before D?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, like now.
Does anybody have a concern with that?
No.
See no concerns. So, does anybody else have any other adjustments to the meeting agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
A second. All right, motion made by Aaron, seconded by Kester to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes, all in favor. All right, so we'll do this invocation next. Ready?
As we gather today, let us take a moment of quiet reflection to remember the lives lost on September 11, 2001. We honor the bravery of those who served and the spirit of unity that arose in the face of tragedy. As we move forward in our work today, may we be inspired by the same selflessness and commitment to service. Let us work together with compassion and dedication to strengthen our community and uphold the values that bind us. Amen.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. I thought it was appropriate.
Next, we have a declaration of conflict of interest for any of the board members. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with the content of our meeting today?
No.
No.
No? No for me? All right, no conflict of interest noted. Public comment. Any person shall be permitted to address the board. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Comments shall be directed to the board with questions directed to the chair. Any person wishing to address the board shall speak from the lectern and state his or her name and address. Persons may address the board on matters that are relevant to township government issues. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding the time needed to answer board member questions. The chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 5 minutes. In order to avoid unscheduled debates, the board generally will not comment nor respond to the presenters. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board. So in the hall here, who would like to make a public comment?
Randy Steelman, 7315 Chris Road, Williamsburg. I just wanted to come up here, and I watched last week's meeting, or the last meeting you guys had there, and I was a little disappointed in some of that. And I wanted to tell Jill specifically, thank you very much. You mean a lot to us. I want to encourage you to continue to fight for us because your voice matters to us. And I know these guys matter to us too, but I feel like she's been getting picked on and beat on, and people are saying she's got conflict of interest in things, and she doesn't. We all stand to make financial gain from the decisions that you guys make. We all stand to be hurt or not hurt from those things. And I want to say thank you for thank some of you guys for standing up and understanding that we need dialogue. We need people that want one thing and we need people that want another thing, and we have to find some place in the middle. And I want to thank you very much, because there's a lot of people in this town who think that we might be misrepresented a little bit, one way or another. And I think the majority of the town agrees with a lot of your thoughts and a lot of your opinions and things, and it means a lot to us. And so, thank you very much. And that's about it. I hope that your guys that you guys are talking about character and this, your thing about how you guys are going to act and things like that. We've never needed that before. Most of us are, good people. And I think that, just doing the right thing, treat others as you want to be treated. And, that's all you need. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Who else would like to make a public comment tonight?
I wish I'd have seen the meeting that Randy was talking about. That's one of the reasons I keep saying over and over, I wish these meetings were all at a time when the whole community could attend. These daytime meetings shut a lot of people out. I'm asking the township board or the supervisor, whichever is appropriate, to please give the PC better direction. It appears to me that the ROS, and I know they changed the name of that, but I can't remember what it is, committee gathering short-term rental information is mostly anti-short-term rental people. This is not how the PC should be approaching this issue. The ROS committee should be equally staffed with people pro and anti. Also, comparing our community to two of the largest towns in Northwest Lower Michigan isn't appropriate. We need to be compared to communities of our own size and our neighboring townships. Also, it's ironic that Randy's just said what he did, because I got the same kind of feelings going on. I'm not sure that there is anyone on this board or the PC except Sadie Merchant and Carl Warble, but Carl is leaving in December, so we won't even have him anymore. And and maybe Jill. I'm probably going to have to figure out how to watch that so I can figure that out. That is concerned about the working class citizens in our township. The longer this administration goes on, the more and more it looks like the new administration only cares about the wealthy, the lakefront, and the retiree part of our community. There are many lifelong residents that feel like this administration is trying to run them over and or out. Your job is to govern for the whole community, not just the ones you like or are trying to impress. All Americans are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The working class don't have the luxury of wealth, so it stands to reason that their version of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness looks different than the wealthy class. That doesn't mean that we are less than or second-class citizens. Compared to them, second-class citizens compared to them. Whitewater Township is not a gated community, and one citizen doesn't have the right to tell another citizen how they should or have to live. And now I got a couple questions. I would like to know how much time each citizen is allowed to speak at this public hearing on the 30th. And I'm asking this question because at the Planning Commission's public hearing out at the school on Supply Road, after I talked, I was informed that I could have spoke for as long as I wanted to. Okay, and then on the public hearing just the other night at East Bay Township Hall, I noticed the board was timing people. So I'm confused as to, you know, what's going to be the rules on the 30th, and I want to know because I would like to be prepared, and I know there are other people that would like to be prepared. And the other question I have is, why isn't there a copy of the agenda on the table that people who enter the room can look at anymore? We used to have that regularly, and we don't anymore. I don't know why that's gone. I would myself personally would appreciate that I could walk. I don't have a computer. I don't own a computer. I don't know how to operate a computer. Looking up the agenda on the computer isn't an option for me. So that would, and I'm not the only person in the world that doesn't work a computer. So I would appreciate that, and appreciate, and I thank you all for your time. I know my time's about up, but my wife has written a letter, and I would like to read it on her behalf, if that would be allowable.
Your time is limited to 5 minutes.
So I can't read my wife's letter to the board?
How much time does he have left?
15 seconds.
It ain't gonna work.
Can you please leave us a copy of the letter? Would you be willing to?
We want it to be in the,
Second public comment.
for,
You can use the second public comment at the end of the meeting.
I yield my 5 minutes.
If,
Can't do that.
if Heidi would like to read the letter, she may. I said Heidi, Heidi, if you would like to read it, that's fine.
She says she won't I can't do that.
It's per person. Okay, who else would like to make a public comment?
Would you like me to read it?
And whoever would like to make a comment, please step forward.
Kim Angus on behalf of Darlene Jacobson. Whitewater Township board members, on Saturday, July 19th, 2025, our neighbor across the road from us called us at 11:24 a.m. to inform us that our handmade Trump sign had been vandalized during the previous night. A police report was filed on July 19th, 2025 at 12:30 p.m. with the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office. When the person or persons who are responsible for this vandalism are apprehended, they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This behavior will not be tolerated or overlooked. This was not just a random act of violence and vandalism. It was meant to infirm our First Amendment right. It was meant to bully, terrorize, and intimidate. It was meant to make us afraid. Every one of you members don't care what these citizens want, and you blatantly refuse to hear what this community is telling you. Every one of you needs to be fired. I'm scared to walk out of my front door. I'm scared for my husband. I'm afraid there will be crazed lunatics creeping around in the darkness or someone doing a drive-by shooting in broad daylight because they don't agree with us. Wake up and open your eyes. That's where this is going. You think we're safe? How long before shootings begin in this township? Those of us who grew up here have witnessed the corruption creeping in over the past 10 years. We're old enough to know that our time left here on earth is limited. We're not being pessimistic, we're being pragmatic. We're planning for our end of life and our children's future. This board is trying to steal our life's work from us. Your abhorrent rhetoric has caused our family health distress and mental anguish. I am not a professor of psychology, but I am sure that someone sneaking around in the middle of the night and destroying other citizens' private property is not a mentally stable person and puts the safety and well-being of not just us, but all citizens in danger. Look at what has just happened at Walmart in Traverse City on July 26, 2025 at 4:43 p.m. I place the blame for this kind of behavior solely on the township board members. But you're encouraging citizens to report and complain about each other. You have emboldened citizens to believe that this kind of behavior is justified and acceptable. This militant corresponding has got to stop. Our neighbors are allowed to post LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, and anti-Trump signs without any repercussions for me or anyone else. I don't believe that it's because someone doesn't think the same way I do, gives me the right to vandalize their private property. That's illegal. Just because my house or yard doesn't look the way someone thinks it should, doesn't give anyone the right to break the law because they're offended. We do not live in an HOA, but this board is treating the whole community as if it is an HOA. FYI, while HOAs may be legal contracts, they must follow the Constitution. We have not signed an HOA contract and never will. Read the sentence in the Declaration of Independence that explains life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I highly recommend all board members go back and study the oath they took and the Constitution and remind themselves why they have the privilege of serving this community. Let me be perfectly clear, we will not tuck our tail and run. You work for us, Mike and Darlene Jacobson. Kim Mangus speaking for herself. Real quickly on your code of conduct, your last meeting, I have a hard time even talking about your last meeting. It was so inappropriate to have the kind of behavior that we witnessed while discussing code of conduct. It's inexcusable. In all my years sitting here at this table, I don't ever remember seeing a board member threaten other board members for not getting a second on their motion. It's not acceptable. The draft you have before you is very hard to read. It has way too much legalese, gobbledygook, and not enough detail. I have read Grand Traverse. I know you have it in your packet tonight. It is a much, much better version. I would really like to encourage you to create, don't just pass theirs, please change the name. This township's done far too much of that over the years. But Grand Traverse was far more on the right track, and it was painfully obvious that a code of conduct is sorely needed. Thank you.
Heidi Valmuth, 8388 Winnie Lane, private citizen. Wow. So we spent money for Zoom equipment. It's somewhere. And we have that. I guess we need to send one back and figure out which one we're keeping. That's expensive. But if it works, you need to let the people come back because there's only one person on Zoom. Maybe, is there one person?
No, that's just the.
How many people are on there?
Heidi, your
I'm
questions
sorry.
are directed to the board.
I
please.
understand that, but shouldn't we have the right to see how many people are on Zoom? Okay, I guess we're getting muted out of that too. I looked at how many people are on Zoom every meeting for one reason. I'm still trying to figure out why you don't want them to speak. Very confusing. You work for us, we don't work for you. I feel like I'm in a board meeting in corporate land instead of government land. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it, we need to make it right. I don't know what you're gonna do about it, but the people deserve to speak whether they're here or can't be here. Actually, what's really interesting is you could all pass you could pass a policy and you could all speak on Zoom too, whether you were here or somewhere else. You have that right to do. Don't tell people that you can't, because I know you can do it. I've already researched it. I've researched it for the last 4 years. Take COVID out of it. And what's really interesting is the board I sat on picked the CDC manual apart. That's how we didn't have to wear masks. So if I know they can do that, I know you could pass a thing to say, hey, we're all gonna be able to Zoom. Let's get in the 20th century here, people. In 1995, we were Zooming. We were Zooming from the firehouse. We were Zooming from the PD. If we wanted to see a meeting, or we had to be in a meeting, but we had to man a desk, we were still given the opportunity of phoning in. It was a little gadget. It looked like a little flying saucer, and you called in and you were able to speak, whether you were a member at the table or you were a member privately speaking at the podium. So I'm a little confused, but you need to figure it out because it's not fair to the people. They're paying for this. And the best ideas come from people that sit and listen and then get an idea and they want to tell you about it. You're eliminating that from the table. That's not cool. You need to pass your ethics policy because some people are violating it. Have a good evening.
Would anybody else like to make a public comment?
Mark Krenock, 9341 Fairview Avenue on the Skigamo Point. Mike, I know that we have different viewpoints on a lot of things, but I love the Binions, man. They're funny. They're
Mark,
sorry.
I'm sorry, you need to address the board.
I apologize.
Thank you.
But thank you for allowing me to address the board and present some items. Number one, I approve and agree with the special assessment for the Skigamo Point Road. I know it's still being talked about, the advantages and improvements that are commensurate and appropriate for the cost of improvement within the special assessment district. The second item is the civil infraction ordinance. I know that it is pending in further debate, assessment, and possible modification. I would recommend consideration be given to applying fines according to the type of ordinance being violated, much in the same way that punishments for, let's say, littering or throwing gum on the pavement and the committing of murder are also different. Specifically, I'm referring to the civil infraction punishment is commensurate with the type of crime or infringement that's being violated. The third item for consideration does regard the short-term rentals, which remains a hot topic in our township. In light of the monumental problems encountered in our community, especially the loss of affordable living space that has been traded for economic gain in the Grand Traverse County, it was noted to be greater than $20 million over an 8-month period in the 2022 alone. So I want you to understand that. That's just 1 year, and that's not even a full year. And the STR people who promoted this earned a revenue of $20 million over 8 months. This is 3 years ago. Some people live with their relatives because they say they can't afford affordable housing. This kind of economic change, or I'm going to say trade, creates a direct result of this kind of thing. One needs to look at and read the book Homeless. And what that does is it does demonstrate as one of the items here that you exchange an economic gain, which then subsequently destroys a community. The Board and Planning Committee must tread slowly and very diligently as it proceeds to determine what the best direction to pursue remains if STR is to be allowed in our township. Thank you for listening to my comments.
All right, is there anybody else that would like to make a public comment? All right, then we're going to move on our agenda. The next thing we have is the Planning Commission report. Randy.
Okay, in your packet is a report. I would note that it was written on September 2nd, the day before the Planning Commission meeting, which was the normally scheduled first Wednesday of the month. So it does not have the action of the Planning Commission on the 3rd. It does mention that there were 3 meetings in August, that there was our regularly scheduled meeting August 6th, which was scheduled to be the public hearing on the proposed STR ordinance, as well as the other ordinance that was proposed to correct an issue with regard to fees being charged for amendments. We just barely exceeded the room capacity here by 6, so that meeting did not take place. It was rescheduled to the 26th. There was a special meeting on the 14th to take care of some business items that included the selection of the members to serve on the Resident Outreach Subcommittee Work Group. 5 people were selected. They were voted on by members of the Planning Commission. And that first meeting happened on September 2nd. So the August 26th meeting, as I think you reported before, was a large meeting. We had 87 people by one person's count. Our venue was really good. The facilitation seemed to work very well given the size of the event. a few minor problems with microphones, but they were really relatively minor. And so there was no action taken at that time. The most recent meeting was September 3rd, and that included the agenda items for the two proposed amendments, included discussion on a winery ordinance, an outside venue ordinance. We thought we were going to have a site plan for Grand Traverse Plastics, but that had to be pulled at the last minute because there was some missing information. We expect that matter to go forward in October now. And also on the agenda was our discussion with Giffords Webster about a first chunk of zoning areas to update. And there was a whole list of areas that need attention in our zoning ordinance. And there was again a survey of planning commission members to identify which areas are most important. They've identified, I think, 6 or 8 different groups of zoning amendments for the planning commission to work on, wherein they would go through, edit, offer changes, bring a draft to the planning commission, explain the reason for the changes, and encourage discussion by planning commission members to see whether the changes are agreeable or not. So that was essentially approved at the planning commission meeting for the first group, and that work will begin here shortly. So as mentioned, the meeting on September 3rd, it's not in the report here, but I'll just verbally tell you the amendment for the STR ordinance was, there's a recommendation coming to not approve that. There is material that needs to be put together with the findings from the Planning Commission, and that's being worked on now with the chair. And then the other amendment that cleans up the fees is also on its way to you. I would think it's likely to be the October meeting is when that would appear on your agenda with the proper documentation. So that's the
All
latest
right,
from the planning
any
commission.
questions for Randy?
Just what meeting?
Likely the October meeting. Likely, I guess we need to get all of the comments from the planning commission in its proper form and present it in a memo to the town board.
So can I just clarify? So you're saying that we're going to receive a memo from them on both the zoning amendment proposal as far as their recommendation, and then also on the text that refers to the fee schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a question on that. So when the recommendation,
Excuse me, who has their volume? Okay, go ahead, Tim.
so when the recommendation on the zoning amendment introduction thing comes back to us, it's going to be a recommendation from the planning commission. Does this board have to take any action?
Yes.
Okay. To accept it or reject it? Okay. Send it back or, okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy? Okay, good. Next, we have consent calendar. So we have a notation of correspondence. We have minutes for approval. Trustee report is in there, and bills for approval. Does anybody,
The trustee report was removed.
right, does anybody want to remove anything from the consent calendar?
I do have one question. In terms of reports, we normally in our agendas had trustee reports and other reports. What's the timing, to be clear, about?
Yeah, I can answer that. Normally, the trustee reports would be like an administrative thing at the end of the month.
Okay, so it's the end of
We
the month.
included
meeting.
yours because
Okay.
you submitted it.
So then would the planning commission report be at the end of the month then too? Or I guess if we're, I want
It's
to,
different.
I have to
That's-
double check.
Well, that's not under consent. That's under reports, presentations,
Right.
announcements. So that
So really, there should be a ZBA at the same time?
those belong under F, and staff reports and that belong under G. So those are the ones we're
So
moving to the business
the
meeting.
first meeting.
First meeting would still have planning commission report.
and then, okay, so,
And also the second meeting if you had more to report.
well, there's going to be a problem each month with the fact that the planning commission meets the first Wednesday and the town board meets the second Thursday. So the window of time to get a report.
To get it in on time and published. And so
because-
I do believe that keep in mind, this is a work in progress, and so I did develop 2 standard agendas. They're slightly different. So it's intended that the end of the month meeting is more administratively focused, kind of standard business, and that the evening meeting at the start of the month is more special topics related. And so I would say Tim is helping me with the packets now because it's become unwieldy to have to do this twice a month. And so you can look at the standard, and you have visibility to that standard template, but we can certainly also just send it out to you. So you can see the standard template as it is right now.
Okay.
So I would say anything that's kind of standard business should be at the end of the 4th Thursday of the month, and it's more special topics at the first. And obviously, there
Okay.
has to be some flexibility regarding timing sensitivity.
Yeah, because it's basically less than a week from the planning commission meeting to the town board meeting.
Right, that's
So-
why I think it should work well for you to report at the end of the month.
Okay, so.
And I realize that we have had those schedule conflicts in the past that have made it impossible for you to have a written summary because of the timing of the meetings. That's always been an issue with the
And
PC.
extra ones.
And extra ones, yeah. So
Okay,
I would say we all need to remain flexible and make sure we do what's necessary to communicate well. I mean, certainly what the PC has done in the last 30 days is a lot. So I think it was good that you were able to report on it today because of that. Okay, so back to the consent calendar. We have 2 sets of minutes for approval, August 14 and August 28. But I want to ask again, is there anything else in here that anybody wants to pull?
I only have August 14.
Yeah, the August 28th are not,
That just came out for us to edit and look at.
not
Oh.
been publicized.
Okay.
In a summary.
I thought we were required to approve them at the next regular meeting.
Okay.
We just got them.
I read them.
Yeah.
I got them, I read them. I am prepared to approve
Certainly
them.
can be added.
So I guess what about the rest of you? I read them cover to cover.
There was only one person that said 2 little things to change.
I
That was
found
wording.
one tiny thing that I would want to change.
I got them last night and I haven't read them.
Okay, so
I have numerous notes too, so I didn't know if we were discussing this today or.
my only concern is compliance. And so do you know that answer for sure?
I do not.
I think that's worth a 1-minute check if somebody else wants to check as well.
Well, then, I don't know if we can keep the same schedule of two meetings a month because it's just not doable.
So I believe we're required to publish a draft within 8 business days. Is
Well-
this correct?
The summary is out, yes.
Okay. And then I'm checking right now.
I think you can always table them.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I
with
was told that
publishing
you
it.
cannot table.
Publishing a draft, I think is fine, but formal approval, I think needs some time to review them.
Yeah, and most townships only have 1 meeting a month, so it wouldn't be so quick, such a quick turnaround.
Proposed minutes must be available within 8 business days of a meeting, which it is.
They're just considered proposed
I'm
or
not-
draft until they're approved.
I'm not. Let me check one more thing. I'm just concerned that I'm not getting as clear of an answer as I'd like.
And I think I heard once, if they're not approved, they are approved.
I've
As
heard
odd
that.
as- as
I've
odd as
heard
that
that. I've
sounds.
heard that too,
Yeah.
that if they don't
If you
get
table them,
approved.
I think that's different.
Yeah, right.
The public body shall make corrections in the minutes at the next meeting after the meeting to which the minutes refer. That would be today. corrected minutes must be available at or before the next subsequent meeting after the correction is made. Okay, so that means we could make corrections today and approve next
We
time.
can table them.
And then approved minutes must be available within 5 business days after the meeting in which they're approved.
I was waiting on Chris.
Okay, so are we in agreement then? We supply corrections right now and then approve at the next meeting?
You can.
How much time do I get to read?
Then they can be tabled until the next meeting.
I would recommend we give the corrections that we have and then approve them, final approvals at the next meeting. Am I understanding that right, Wendy, from your training on this?
I think that you can go either way. You can either just table it and talk about it next time, or you can say your suggestions and
Are we
approve them
able
next
to
time.
send you our suggestions so that can we send them by email and then be prepared to discuss it and approve it at the end? Or at the last meeting of the
should
month?
probably
Because
do it
Tim
in a
hasn't even
meeting.
had time to read the,
Should probably do it in a meeting. Not, separately.
Okay, well, I am comfortable giving my corrections because they are very small. What do the rest of you think? What do you think, Randy?
I'm okay with that.
Wendy?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
So you are comfortable doing this? Tim?
They're in today's paper.
The summary is in the newspaper. Okay,
is
but
that
this the
normal?
actual-
Do we publish every meeting in the paper?
Yep.
We
We
are
have to.
required to publish, what do you call it? Do you call it a
summary.
synopsis or a summary? We are required because of the size of our township, yes.
And we've done that every meeting in the
Always.
past? Okay.
Always. And do you want any clarifying questions to Wendy? I don't do this.
No.
It's her function. Okay. If you ever
I
notice,
just never
you see
saw, I
it.
never saw that, she put it in the email that it was submitted to the Elk Rapids News. I've just never,
I just
It's
wanted you to
not
be
these
aware.
exact ones.
Correct,
It's
it was a summary one.
Right,
Yeah, I just wanted you guys aware that that was happening.
right. And you submit that where, Wendy? Record Eagle?
Elk Rapids News.
Okay. Do you do it to both?
No.
Just, okay, all right. All right, I got 3 people that are comfortable giving their corrections. Any other further input for the group before we decide? Okay, so Randy, do you have any corrections?
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 things, since we're still in the consent calendar, they would need to be pulled to then do what you're suggesting, but
Right.
also they need to be amended to the agenda, the
Need to be added.
828. So there's 2 other factors before.
Okay,
That.
so thank you for the heads up on that case. So we're going to pull and give corrections to meeting minutes.
Probably want to amend your.
Yep.
Amend your agenda first, so you can pull them.
Okay, so,
Amending the agenda to add the August 28th minutes.
okay.
And does that include the closed session?
It does. I'll pass these suckers back out.
So we're gonna review,
So review the
Review the
closed
minutes.
session really quickly and then initial it and give it back to me. I'll seal it.
so we're pulling meeting minutes from the consent calendar. Is there anything else that needs to be pulled from the consent calendar?
I'm sorry, before you pull anything yet, I may have missed it, but I didn't hear a second or a vote on amending
No,
the
I was asking a
agenda.
clarifying question. Are we needing to pull the bills for approval? That's really the only other thing on here. I'm just making sure I know what people want to do here. Okay.
I just have a clarifying question on the bills that were sent. I don't have it right in front of me, but the first one, the medical, what was that for fire employee physicals and that?
The Boundary Medical,
Yeah.
those are all his medical supplies that are in the trucks.
Oh, supplies. Okay, gotcha. All right.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to pull the meeting minutes from the consent calendar and review them right after the consent calendar.
Again, tell me if I missed it, to amend the agenda first to add the 8:28 open and closed into it. I only have a first. I'm sorry to go back to
Okay,
that.
so we need two motions here, is what you're saying.
Well, we need a motion, and then, yeah, you can pull from the consent, and then we approve the consent calendar.
Okay, would you like to state that, Wendy?
I make a motion to add the 8/28/2025 open and closed meeting minutes to the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Oh, to the agenda.
I will second that. So motion made by Wendy, seconded by Slopesma. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
And Aaron's is opposed. Motion carries. And then we need a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar. Is that right, Wendy?
I think the consent calendar as presented, because the only thing that was on it is the 15th minutes. So I'd make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
As amended, because you're pulling the 14th and now the 28th.
We were leaving the 14th on, but added the 28th.
You're
nobody-
not pulling the 14th.
nobody had any changes to the
Okay,
14th.
you're pulling the 28th, so it would be amended.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so I believe Tim made that motion. I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. So that was the consent calendar approval. All right, so next we'll go to any review comments from the meeting minutes. Let's first do the regular meeting minutes of August 28th. I have just a slight change to page 3. The second paragraph under fire emergency services. There's a notation regarding the meeting that we had with the tribe to coordinate EMS response to the casino. And that it just says, we will continue to do so on a monthly basis. That was not the commitment from the tribe. The commitment was to follow up approximately on a quarterly basis. So I wanted to make that clear, that those meetings will take place closer to a quarterly basis.
Did he say
not
that he was going to go monthly to them, though?
I was at that meeting, and I have talked to Josh since. We do plan to meet with them prior to the next grant submission timeframe.
Okay.
We will meet with them as needed, but there was absolutely not a commitment from them to meet monthly, no. Or we could change this to as needed.
Right.
But they did not commit to a monthly cadence.
Page 3.
Page
paragraph
3,
2.
paragraph 2, the end of the
Could
first
just say,
sentence.
and continue to do so.
Yes, you could also say and continue to do so. I just thought monthly was misleading.
On 8/28, I believe is what you said. Am I,
Yeah.
Yes. And if it makes it easier,
I'll keep track.
yeah, I have that talking about the Halloween party.
Okay.
okay.
Maybe our page numbers got switched.
All right, other notations that need to be discussed for amending the minutes from the 28th.
I wanted to point out that on page 1, under set, adjust, and approve agenda, that the last item for adding resolution to adopt a censure policy is not actually what happened at all. It wasn't adopting a policy, it was a, once again, last-minute targeted attack.
So it should
on
say
me.
a proposed resolution 2025 and proposed resolution 2025, 14 and 15.
It should say what?
Proposed.
Yeah, instead of adding a resolution, it should say add a proposed resolution. Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. And the first one was to adopt an ethical conduct and governance policy. And I believe the next one, you're trying to, if I'm understanding, propose resolution 2025, and it wasn't adopting a censure policy, it was
Actually doing a
a
censure.
censure. So it was a proposed resolution 2025 censure. Does that make sense, Jill?
Can you say that again?
It would just, I struck to adopt a, and I just left the word censure and struck policy. So it would instead read, add proposed resolution 2025-15 censure to new business. Is that acceptable? Yes. Okay.
On page 6, all the way at the bottom, under board action, it has Miss Aaron's, it should be Mr. Aaron's.
Okay. Oh, okay, so you said, yeah, Mr. I just noticed that I had a correction on that same area.
Sorry, Jill, which section did I?
That was page 6, all the way at the bottom where it says board action. It starts out and it says Miss Aaron's made a
Well, you didn't have
motion.
to say it twice.
Should be Mr.
Which heading though?
Solicitation of
Board
bids.
action, the second from the bottom.
So for solicitation of bids for township legal services, it's the motion.
Actually, it says board action, Ms. Aaron's. It's supposed to be Mr. Right at the very bottom, under board action, the
We'll go
first.
for 4.
My page has got, my page numbers are very different, just what heading
It's
it's under.
they're looking
Or
at
which
the,
section.
they're looking at the draft copy that I sent you in the email.
Here, I'll bring
That's
it
the one I
over.
printed. But if you could just let me know what section it is, then I'll find it easier. Solicitation of bids. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Tim.
And then, as long as we're talking about that, I'll let you have this paper. The last sentence on that same page, it says a conflict of interest policy currently exists but is vague. We have a conflict of interest policy for employees only, and it is limited to discussion of executing financial contracts. So it's very limited. If you all agree with that comment. It's in the employee manual. What other, so
All
go
right.
ahead, sorry to
Yes,
interrupt.
That's okay. On page 7, I just want it noted that it would be under the heading on page 6 for resolution to adopt ethical conduct of governance policy. It is only noted that I asked for the attorney to review it, but both Linda and Tim also asked for the attorney clarification on the conflict of interest part.
I don't, like, we gotta talk about, like, the minutes are what happened at that meeting, not that things are incorrectly said. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we are trying to say like what actually happened at this meeting.
Yeah, I think this is one of the ones where the two blended together often when we have the
Yes.
meeting. So sometimes we were talking about the next item during the current item, you know, so they got a little,
Right.
I rewatched the meeting last night, and it was specifically talking about the conflict of interest that 3 of us requested attorney clarification on whether or not things can be discussed
I think
if you have a conflict of interest, and just,
you could just say there was a request and don't say who, just,
or just say several board members requested, because it looks like I'm the only one that requested it. And I think that's important.
Anything else?
I'm looking, I have a lot of notes here. I think that's it as far as corrections.
All right, Tim, anything? that you have? Okay.
can't speed read that fast.
Okay.
So I do have one, actually.
Yep.
Top of page 5, second paragraph, about the RFP for consulting services to help us with the capital improvements plan. I don't recall us saying that the board would revisit this in 1 month. I think the idea was the board would revisit this period when we have something, a draft to look at. And I think we recognize this was a longer term kind of effort here to even do the RFP.
I actually second guessed that one myself, so I agree. I didn't.
I guess my only comment that I'd like to make about the minutes is that I put this agenda together, they're not on it. And I appreciate getting them as soon as we can get them. But if something's not on the agenda, I'm not going to review it in a hurry for this meeting. I just assumed it was going to be done on the next meeting, and I was going to have due time to go through it like I do with Wendy, send her my corrections. And I would like, and I'm fine just doing what we all voted to do and what y'all voted to do, but I would like Wendy to research this issue about this having to be, it wasn't on the agenda. So it just seems to me like it just waits till the next meeting. I don't know. It just needs a little research.
I support that.
So there's a couple extenuating circumstances with this one too. The length of the meeting, some of the items on the meeting were actually being researched. So yeah, I agree.
Okay, so can you come back to us as soon as possible with clarification of that? I think it's important for all of us, right? That we be prepared for the meeting and have reviewed it.
Right.
Okay.
So are we postponing this? What are we doing?
It's too late to postpone.
We earlier voted to add it to the agenda, so I think we've voiced the corrections. Are there any further corrections? So I will make a motion to approve the minutes of August 28th as amended. I need a second on that.
I'll second that.
So motion made by Slopsma, seconded by Milnick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, no by Kester and Aaron's.
So we're saying, I just
Motion
want to
passes.
clarify too, that we're still waiting for feedback on this from the attorney, and we're approving this before we've
Discuss that
even gotten
later
it.
in the meeting, in
It's,
the context.
they're approved now, so it doesn't really make a difference.
This was just approving the minutes.
Procedure questions.
Okay.
Procedurally, we approve the minutes. Okay, then we have the closed session minutes that were just distributed. Does anybody have any corrections to these minutes?
It's basically a transcript.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it's basically a transcript.
Yes, okay.
Well, but they're minutes, right? I make a motion to approve the closed session minutes of August 28, 2025.
I'll second.
Motion made by Aaron, seconded by Kester. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
And I believe these go back to
I would
you.
like them initialed at the top, and then I'm gonna stick them back in the envelope for a year and a day.
Must have taken it back, 'cause I don't have
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda we have is unfinished business. First, we have any parks and recreation items. This is a placeholder just because there's a lot going on at the park.
Sorry. Were you all not reviewing and approving reviewing the 814s?
They were already on the
were
consent.
approved on
They were never
consent.
pulled.
Oh, they were pulled, okay.
No.
I'm sorry, that's my bad. They were approved in the consent
Yep.
calendar then. Very sorry.
Yep.
So on the park, I just have two things that Tom provided to me. He might report again on it at the end of the month when he's able to make that meeting. But he gave us a listing of assets at the park, him and the staff there, and rated things poor to good. And I think it's going to be really helpful when we start doing the 6-year capital improvement plan to have at least it's a good start. And I'd be happy to share that with all of you if you want me to email it.
Well, that was part of the 5-year prac thing.
So
it'll
you
be in
already
that
got it.
document.
You
Yeah,
already
I
got
have
it.
that. It's already, so go ahead with your second thing and then I'll update on that.
Okay, good. All right, so you'll handle that. So then he also gave, and I think he worked with Zach on this, but he gave some ideas for the campground. Just the first year there with himself and with Zach, our camper host. And they've recognized some things that we'll be talking about when we're setting rates in the fall or in this fall, early winter, about marketing, pricing, creating maybe a rustic tent loop that's been requested by people. People that are in tents don't often want to be right below an RE. They'd rather be with other tents. And so that might be something that could be done out there. Beach improvements, some change. There were a lot of complaints about how much we charge for firewood compared to where you can buy it right outside Park Drive. And some different ideas about how to obtain wood in the future to make it cheaper for the campers. And then about a new ranger station, a game area, when to open next year, earlier reservations, clearing ridge view of some trees. There are a lot of dead trees that need to be cut down as well. Some improvements at the playground area, camper boat parking area improvements, and then the reservation system, a discussion on that. And then also possibly water delivery to campsites for revenue.
Okay, so
It was nice they were very thorough in some of the brainstorming that started really in the spring with the lead rangers.
okay, so lots to follow on that this fall. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good start.
They've been updating all their forms and things because they've been going through a lot of ink.
Yeah.
Okay, did you have something else related to the parks?
Just that, yeah, go ahead.
This, maybe you'll cover this, I'm not sure, but so what's the connection between that work and what the practice doing on the 5-year plan?
That's right. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, part of that asset list was part of the 5-year plan. So we had them rate all the parks, everything for accessibility. We actually had an outside agency do that. That was Disability Network of Traverse City came in and rated all of our parks for accessibility, gave us some really good feedback on that. And then we had the staff at the park went around and counted like every picnic table, every bench, signs, and rated the condition of each of those so that we know, we have 100 picnic tables, but 25 of them are in very poor condition and probably need to be planned to be replaced a year from now. That's kind of what we're trying to get from this. 50 might need to be replaced in 3 years. So they just, put a quantity and a score by everything. So that'll be in the 5-year plan. And that was just the only other thing that I was going to mention is that has been sent to the graphic designer for the first draft. So we're just waiting for that. And I will share that as soon as we get that first draft back for any board feedback and corrections.
So one of the biggest material items in the Park and Rec 5-year plan is the survey results. Can we get that
I
in
can send that
advance of
separate.
waiting for the printed copy?
Yes, it's all been done. What I didn't have were the graphics to come with that. So that's been done now, and I can share that at the next meeting if you want me to, outside of the 5-year, outside of the whole document, if you want that survey
Yes.
separate.
that's also a really specific piece of data that frequently the citizens want to see. And so we need to make sure that the clerk has a hard copy of that for people. And I know in the past that has been posted to the website.
Okay.
Survey data tends to be something that the people want to see that as soon as possible
Yeah.
after they've provided the feedback.
Yep. And just lastly, just to mention again that this Sunday at 9 o'clock at High Prairie Park, we are planning on assembling the final bleacher, and we really need a few good, strong men. If anybody is available to help us stretch the fencing, which goes behind the bleachers, it's going to be kind of a difficult task. We need some muscles. So if anybody's available, we'll be there at 9 a.m. Sunday.
All right.
A couple follow-up things, though. Do you know how many survey responses we have?
I think it was 98, right around 98 off the top of my head. Yeah. And most of that was the result of us passing those out at the cleanup day. So we got really good feedback on that. A lot of people were able to fill them out right there while they were waiting, so that was a really good idea.
And then is there a schedule for the public hearing and the approval from the plan, or from the?
Yes, I don't have it right in front of me, but yeah, we have a whole schedule of the whole dates and deadlines that we have to meet to get this all done by February 1st.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, the next topic is the Code of Ethics discussion. And Randy had a memo that he wrote here.
Actually, I didn't write that memo. I think that is.
I guess we had your name next to the item,
I think
and so, sorry if I misspoke, so.
So this is a continuation of the conversation from last month with regard to a amendment to our policy and procedures manual to have a code of ethical conduct. And in the packet is a updated version of that, which differs somewhat from what was in our packets at the last meeting, most notably with regard to conflicts of interest, number 5. It's been, as I understand it, reduced down to the 3 bullet points that we have, as opposed to more text. I think that's the only change. Is that right?
The definition.
Just a point of order, and I think we should practice this a little bit more. It would have been helpful at the last meeting. Before we get into debate and discuss, I think that we should have a perfected motion. There should be a motion and a second, and then go into board discussion. I've heard even the prior board used to say, I'll second for discussion purposes. It doesn't mean you have to vote yes just because you made the motion, but if something doesn't get a second, then it dies on the vine, you move on.
I agree.
So I'll make a motion to move that the Whitewater Township Board adopt Resolution 25-14, approving the Whitewater Township Code of Ethical Conduct and Governance Policy effective immediately.
So that's a suggested motion at the bottom of the memo.
Right.
Right.
And then someone seconds it and we discuss.
And then we discuss and debate.
So we've kind of been doing it backwards.
Right.
Yeah. On all items going forward.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
So now we can kind of do the back and forth and see where it goes from there.
All right, so for K's benefit, motion made by Aaron's and seconded by Hoeksema. And now this is the discussion period. So Randy, do you want to continue your comments?
And then I also remember at the prior meeting, there was discussion about what the county's policy is, and that was the reason for including it in the packet.
Yes.
It is obviously a much larger organization than our little township is, but with a lot more administrative capacity to administer this.
So a question I have, Wendy, I know we did it at the meeting the other night, but some of these resolutions we adopt are long. Do we have to read into the record all the verbiage of every resolution?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can we focus right now on the content of the proposed Code of Ethical Conduct and Governance?
Right,
So,
I had more to add to that,
Okay,
but
go
so right after that is the county one, and I read it. I know that they spent a lot of time on this, and it took them more than a year, I think, before they all kind of came to an agreement on adopting something. But it's interesting to me how they have in there that this applies to all employees of Grand Traverse County. It applies to all county commissioners and all elected officials within the county.
Yes.
And so reading that, I was particularly interested in the reporting process, section 4 of the county's policy, and then section 5, investigative procedure, and how they would go about that. If, as an example, there was a desire to censure one of our board members for something, it starts with a complaint that there was a violation of code of conduct or whatever it might be of this policy of the counties, that it be reported to county HR or the county administrator. And I think in this case, it would be the administrator. But then the administrator kind of seeks out a couple people from the Board of Commissioners and kind of throws it into their lap to investigate, interview, whatever, and make a determination on what to do with it, I suppose. And the thing that I did like about that is, in our situation, it takes it out of our lap. It throws it to an impartial body that hasn't been in the weeds of the issues, so to speak, like we have been. And so I do like kind of, even though I know nobody likes daddy telling you what to do, right? Like Grand Traverse County telling us what we have to follow, but I actually don't mind it. And so, I mean, I'm fine either way, but I mean, we'll adopt the one that's proposed, or I'd be fine adopting the counties, or agreeing to it. I don't even know if we have to adopt it. They said it already applies to us, but, you know, so that's sort of where I'm at with it.
I don't know how the county can pass something that applies.
Well, they did. It's what it says.
It actually says county-wide elected officials.
Right.
So we're not county-wide elected officials.
I guess how you interpret the word
So you're thinking they're
countywide.
talking about.
Excuse
just-
me, can I ask the audience if you would like to have a separate conversation to please step outside the hall? Otherwise, it's important that we're all able to hear up here. Thank you.
So you think it's just elected county commission?
I
or
think you could read
county-
it both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, the way it read, it just seemed like that's what it was
I
implying.
felt like they were inferring us,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I thought it was strange that they didn't like
Or they're trying to make
come tell
standards.
us or
Yeah.
ask us
Well,
to sign nothing.
but I did like some of the other aspects of it, that
I also really liked a lot of the things that they had in here. I feel like they really put a lot of thought and effort into this, and it is protecting people on all sides to make sure somebody's not making baseless accusations and to protect the person that accusations could be made against. And there's just additional things in here too that we don't have in ours, like not engaging in harassment or harassing behavior of any other person having dealings with the county. There are a couple other things in here that personal interest is an interest where a non-financial benefit would inure to the commissioner, immediate family member, or current business partner. I just think it's really thorough. I think it's better than the one that we have, or the one that's proposed, I should say.
I agree with most of that, except that I'm not sure with the reporting process and the investigative procedures that we have the wherewithal to follow that. I mean, how would we implement? We don't have a human services director. We don't have, all these different entities that the county does. It's
Ethics panel.
much more larger a unit of government than we are.
But there should be some sort of accountability. We could probably scale it down, quite a bit, but I like the accountability and having a non-biased person involved in that process. I think it protects everybody.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I also think this code of conduct is protecting the township, not the people. So that's part of my point of view. It's protecting the township.
So another thing I noticed was the fact that there's an opportunity to sign and date this, which I would imagine is for the individuals to, like an employee, or as this policy does apply to not only elected officials, but employees that we have,
Right.
as well as other members of Planning Commission or ZBA or any other entity in here. To have them actually sign this would help avoid any issue of not knowing about it.
So that was a question I had when, with this sign it annually. I realize you can tell your employees they have to, or they're not going to be your employee. You can tell your appointed officials that you have to, or we remove you from the commissioner board or whatever, right? But what are you going to do with your elected officials if they refuse to sign it? What's the plan? Public shaming, I guess, or what's the plan? You can't force an elected official to sign this.
Correct.
So I'm just saying, I'm not saying that I won't or that one wouldn't, but if somebody really had an issue with this thing and they didn't want to sign it, I don't think there's a lot you can do about it.
Right.
Or is it just me, or do I see a fair amount of work to amend number 4 and 5 in terms of making that work for a small township like ours?
You're referring to the county one?
Oh, I gotta get there.
4 and 5.
That's reporting process,
Reporting
investigative
process and
procedure.
investigative procedure.
No, I'm talking about just signing it in general. Having somebody sign it, you can't force an elected official to sign it every year.
No.
What if they don't want to? They just, whatever, but
But they still know that that's what's expected
it's an
of them.
expectation, but
Right.
I just thought I'd just throw that out there. But I think we all know,
I think
I think
it's a
we
good
all know
point.
there's nothing that you can do. It is what it is. The voters will decide at the voting booth.
I like the simplicity of what's in the packet, as opposed to, the county is a much larger organization, obviously, and much more moving parts than we have, but
It,
But it covers everything, and it would still apply to, to us.
It's also enforceable though, so they will enforce it. That's what they're saying. If any violation of this, we will enforce this. So I do wonder if they make their elected officials sign anything.
I didn't see a signature block in there.
No,
didn't
but
mean
they
to cut
could
you
have
off.
something else.
So I personally prefer the more simple document, at least as a starting point for us. I would certainly want to understand some of this enforcement and actually talk to somebody at the county. I read it all, but I'd like to talk to somebody about it to make sure we understand their intent.
right.
I do want to talk more about just the paragraph on conflict of interest. There were 3 bullet points in what was proposed last month
On the county or,
on the one that was authored for us. And so under section 5, conflict of interest, the first sentence, or the first bullet remained unchanged. The second bullet previously stated, do not vote or participate in deliberation, debate, or discussion of matters where a conflict exists. Full recusal includes to refrain from commenting or attempting to influence others and to remove themselves from the area of discussion. And it was changed to just one simple sentence, do not vote or participate in decisions where conflicts exist. I like that the word decisions was added, which was not in what was proposed last month. I'm concerned about removing the words deliberation, debate, discussion. I don't know that we need all 3 of those words, but there's enough published information regarding best practices that indicates that a person who declares a conflict of interest then refrains from further interaction, particularly with decision makers.
And that's not what that says. I think it should say, do not vote or participate in decisions where a conflict has been declared.
That is a good point.
Because where a conflict exists is judgmental based on who you.
That's true, that would be an opinion.
So it should be where conflict is declared. The person declares a conflict.
So I think that first sentence is a very straightforward, inarguable statement. I think continuing to have additional verbiage that clarifies, again, the thought process that continuing to debate and discuss with decision makers is inappropriate because it is a person that has declared a conflict and is in a position of authority at the township, is continuing to try and influence or possibly pressure another decision maker. And I think that's a lot of the essence of what the MTA material and the Michigan Municipal League material that I've read.
And it's best practice to remove yourself from the table so you don't get caught in that, deer in the headlights thing where microphone's right here, so it's kind of better sometimes to walk away. But I don't think that you can force a board member, an elected official, to leave the table.
But it is supposed to be part of the minutes if they do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can state in the minutes that they didn't leave the table, whatever. But again, that's for voters to decide at the.
I've seen that occur in a couple other townships where the board member or whatever leaves the beginning, goes in the audience.
They suggest you even leave the room. I think the one when it was talking about deputy supervisor wage, I left the table, but I sat in the back. I should have actually left the room, I suppose. But anyway.
Do you want it back to what it was then before? Is that what you're saying? The extra sentences?
I like what we changed the first sentence to say, do not vote. It should say, nor participate in decisions where a conflict has been declared. I believe that a second sentence, in my opinion, is warranted to further clarify. It says, do not vote nor participate in decisions, but also refrain from debate or discussion on the matter with township decision makers. I mean, that would cover the situation.
That is what a full recusal is.
Yeah, because it's particularly, everybody has the right to free speech, but to me, somebody that declares a conflict, to me, it's crossing an ethical line when you try and influence specifically a decision maker.
This is the best practice, if that's what it's saying.
Yes, I'm just struggling a little bit with the perfect words here.
So are you suggesting that second sentence be put back in there?
Yes, I believe that's the correct thing to do. And I don't know if we want to add the last sentence about the best practice of removing themselves from the area of discussion if it's a topic for a decision-making meeting, to continue to refrain. Or it is, I understand it is a best practice to remove yourself from the table.
From the area of decision-making?
That would be like out of the room, or you're just saying away from the table?
I've seen both in different bylaws. And at this point, I think it's appropriate to say that I did discuss this with Chris Patterson very briefly again today. And in response to the question about feeling like there may have been some mixed messages from him on conflict of interest, he said, it really comes down to the fact that you don't have an ethics policy right now. And so you could debate this back and forth, and that's why you need an ethics policy. And it's whatever the township board decides to adopt. And he did recommend that we do adopt an ethics policy. that covers above and beyond employees. So it covers appointed and elected officials.
I think having the person away from the area where the decision's being made is obviously best practice, and it sends a signal that you take it seriously and you're not there at the table making gestures or doing anything to influence the conversations if there's a conflict of interest.
And so down at number 10, if there's a conflict of interest and we adopt this policy that the person with the different opinion cannot even discuss or be asked questions, they can't be part of the conversation at all. And I'm just talking about the conversation. I'm not talking about when it comes down to decision-making. Down in number 10, it talks about public statements, and it says clearly state when you are expressing a personal opinion. So is a personal opinion still allowed at the podium as a resident? Because again, I have consulted with numerous people and I'm being just told something.
We're not saying that it's
different.
not. That's why it says clearly state when you're expressing a personal opinion. But the full recusal, when you have a conflict of interest, means you need to move from the table. That's what that's part saying, not that you can't make a public statement.
Correct. So what I'm asking, I understand removing yourself when there's a decision being made and you go sit somewhere else. But what I'm saying is that if you recused yourself because of a conflict of interest, are we still able to comment as a resident?
This says yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to clarify. So number 10 is saying that we can
It
comment.
does say yes, it's not a best practice and it's
Correct.
considered
But
unethical.
it says you can. You just can't come back to the table, and when it's time to formulate a decision, if you declared a conflict, you shouldn't really come back to the table and debate and discuss with the board. Public comment is public comment. When it's over, your debate on the issue is over if you've declared a conflict. So that's what it means to me. You know?
So one ongoing concern that I have about this is I think it goes back to the fiduciary duty. Each of us took an oath to a fiduciary duty that we must act in the best interests of the township and its residents, avoiding personal or financial conflicts that would compromise your ability to remain impartial or erode public trust. This is the area that I really struggle with. We all have personal opinions. We all have some level of bias on almost any topic. But the point of an elected official is to have big ears and a small mouth. And we all should be listening and trying to really empathize and understand the point of view of residents on various topics, and then making decisions and finding that middle ground that can best serve all of the residents of this community. And if a person who has declared a conflict of interest continues to even make public comment, although it's their right to free speech, I think it erodes the public trust that you are remaining impartial and that you are listening to the views of others. That's where I struggle with. I understand, though, you do have the right to free speech. I think that's why all the MTA guides say that this is something that people should step away from. And I'm not directing this just to one person at the table. I'm directing this to anybody in any situation. This is not a situational specific discussion. It's the overall.
But if that person is not voting, then where's the harm in them expressing their opinion?
I
to
believe,
influence.
again, it's a perception of the leverage that individual has on, in the example of PC members, let's use that example. And I believe that the PC is the most common area where I've seen MTA address this. It's because if a board member has a conflict and then starts participating in PC meetings and making comments regarding their personal viewpoint, this is the same person that votes to appoint or not appoint people to that board. So that's a position of leverage That's my understanding of it.
And so what I struggle with too, if you go down to H under, like I said, it'd be 3, the personal interest, to me, I don't
Are
see
you
any.
on the county
I'm on the
one?
county, yep.
Okay, so.
There
we got
isn't any
H.
difference to me whether it's, I mean, this says personal interest is an interest where a non-financial benefit would also occur to a person. So there's,
I
there
need you
are
to-
people
Okay.
other than me that would benefit from the outcome one way of the particular topic of short-term rentals. And there are people that, they would benefit on each side. There's people sitting on this board that would benefit either way that vote swings. So why would one person have to recuse themselves from discussion and the other person wouldn't, who has a personal interest?
So the general public also would have a benefit from having a short-term rental or not living next door to them. That would be the general public would have that.
But
The
same is
general
true
public
for
does not
short-term.
have a financial interest in it. That's the difference.
But they could.
They could, but
And there's-
what she's saying, what's the difference between a board member having a personal interest and a financial interest? There's a huge difference. Any person of the general public could have a personal interest in it, yes. But they're not sitting on this board. But a financial interest is much different than a personal interest. You could say anybody has a personal interest.
But there's many people in our community that do have a financial interest
They
as
do,
well.
but they are not on this board. That's the point of this.
That
What
doesn't make any sense.
Well, what I'd like to avoid in this discussion, if we can, we need to separate these two issues. We're talking about a code of ethics policy, and we're talking about an individual situation that occurred this year. We need to separate the two. Let's just get through a code of conduct policy.
Yep.
If we need to debate and discuss whether that was right or wrong, or violates it or it doesn't, we can always amend this at another time, but let's get something on the books and move forward, because we could debate this all night
I
long.
think the conflict of
And we're
interest
never gonna
policy
agree.
is larger than any one individual circumstance here. And we're obviously struggling with this because we never
Right,
had
and I
one.
don't think any of us, we all have, like Linda said, we all have our own biases about this or that, and we're not going to convince each other at this point on what's right and what's wrong regarding that issue.
So when I look back at Section 5 of this Whitewater Township Code of Conduct from the meeting 2 weeks ago, there was the second sentence, and I think this second sentence is well worded, and we can add it back in, where it says, full recusal includes to refrain from commenting or attempting to influence others. Put a period after that. And then I think we could add on to it, removing themselves from the area of discussion is preferred. So not required, but, or is
Best
recommended.
practice, whatever. But when you say not to influence others, you mean decision makers.
Okay, I like that,
know.
influence decision makers.
Well, I had said to remove themselves from the area of decision-making.
Right.
Okay, so does somebody want to wordsmith that better so that we can move
The whole
through
thing,
this?
full recusal includes to refrain from commenting or attempting to influence others, to remove themselves from the area of decision-making is best practice.
But you just clarified it was other decision makers, not others in the community.
Well, it infers that if you're in the decision-making area, the people making the decisions.
Well, it's really tying the two things together. So the question is, do you want to tie them together, or do you want to keep them as separate
Well-
comments? I do believe Tim, I think, verbalized this really well. It is definitely a best practice to remove yourself from the area of discussion. It's like, it's cleaner, and it appears more appropriate. But I do believe the more significant item is just the statement, full recusal includes to refrain from commenting or attempting to influence decision makers. I think that's nice and clear and crisp. And then we can just put a period and then start a new sentence, removing themselves from the area of discussion is recommended.
I like that. You're separating the two and saying removal is recommended. But you're-
Right.
But you're stopping short of saying.
But if you don't, then you're not in violation of
Right.
this. That's up to you.
I think it's mostly symbolic anyway, but
Yeah, I think for me, I prefer to do it because.
yeah, for sure.
Then I
would
just
I would
don't
too.
speak
Then you're
up.
not tempted to say
Right.
anything. All right, any further discussion on this?
Are we able to take any of this, the protective measures that is in the Grand Traverse County one,
What's-
and apply it?
What specific section are you talking about?
Well, it would be under section 4, the reporting process. You know, we're talking about somehow narrowing that down. We don't have the kind of staff to do exactly what they're doing, but I like the last statement under that section. It says, "It shall also be a violation of this policy for any complainant to make a baseless allegation of unethical behavior that is made with reckless disregard for the truth and that is intended to be disruptive or to cause harm to another individual. Any violation of this section may result in enforcement action under the Code of Ethics." But I just think there should be, you know, they have an outline of, there should be an investigative procedure. You know, they go through a lot of steps, I guess, to reconcile this before it becomes a censure, which I think there should be, you know, fact-finding. There should be some unbiased people involved looking at the issue before there's just baseless allegations thrown out at another board member.
There's an appeal procedure right above that paragraph.
Well, yeah, that's what I was reading is, it says here, I had it there for a minute. It says here, concerns or questions about whether actions are considered unethical or a violation of this code of ethics policy can be reported to the Human Resources Director or county, you know, that would just, I thought it said somewhere up here earlier, concerns must be documented in writing or something. I thought I read that.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. I don't know if it's that paragraph.
I think the difference is that a township board is to honestly police themselves. And this procedures in here are about employees, a bigger area, the county that has different kind of laws. Township laws are a little different for a censure process. We're supposed to hold each other accountable, basically.
So there is a section in what was drafted here. It says reporting violations and enforcement. Report suspected violations to the township supervisor or clerk. Township board may investigate and act according to MCL and township rules. Consequences may include warnings, censure, removal from committees, referral to legal authorities, or other actions.
Again, more for committee or employees.
Under number 4, I don't see why we couldn't adopt all of that. Under number 4, on the county, they have
Number 4.
A through I. It's under, I'm sorry, section, it's under section 5, but then it's bullet point number 4. It says at the conclusion of the investigation, that sentence, that whole paragraph doesn't really matter, but I like the bullet points that they have. Determine whether the complaint was well-founded or that the actions complained of in it were not ethical or not unethical, and therefore no corrective measures are necessary. B, determine although the code of ethics was infringed upon in a technical sense, the matter complained of is immaterial, unavoidable, or insubstantial, and that decide that no corrective action is warranted. Anyway, you guys can read the rest, but every one of those is,
I'm sorry, I
kind of
don't
important.
see where you're at. You're at the county?
yeah, I'm on the county one. I'm under section 5, investigative procedures.
And then it's
And then go
item
down
4.
to item 4, and it's all those, it's A through
It's
I.
the list
We're
on
under-
page
under
5.
B. All right.
You know,
So while that-
they're suggesting like mediate or seek a resolution of a disagreement between the writer of the complaint and the person named in it. There's just there's protective measures in there. It's kind of doing your due diligence before you make accusations.
So getting back to what you started to mention earlier, Jill, reporting process, section 4, I found the part that says any person may complain in writing that they believe there's a code of ethics violation. I'm paraphrasing that. It doesn't have to have tons of words. I do think that that's important. That's the same process that we use for any concern about a violation of our various ordinances. We don't go on hearsay. Somebody has to be willing to report the problem and sign their name. We don't run around after anonymous complaints. People have to be specific
Well, and then
about
it's-
the
and then it's-
details. You can't just say stuff.
Right.
And so I think that having a note in there, currently we have in here, report suspected violations to the township supervisor and clerk in writing. I would just add the words in writing. Because again, it can't just be, this is an ethics violation. This is not the commitment of a crime. And then the second point that you're trying to make is just some additional language about what's expected regarding an investigation. I think we already have some language in the policy and procedure manual about what we do as far as investigating a concern with an employee. The difference is this is a little different with appointees and elected officials. The thing that's kind of tough is we don't have an ethics panel. We're small, right?
But there's a lot of things on that list. I mean, I don't see why they're,
And I don't disagree with, determine whether it's real,
I agree with that too, that there be a process to determine whether it's real. Or to substantiate
Yeah.
anything.
and before it's brought to the board or to the public, the person being accused should have a chance to do a full disclosure and provide evidence and, all that before it's just brought forward. And that's what this is discussing. It's giving that person an opportunity to
We also have to
discuss it.
We also have to keep in mind that county law can be a little different than township law. For township boards, we are required, we have a duty to uphold standards and ethics. And of each other.
And the county doesn't?
They have their own different laws, yes.
Oh,
It's more of an administrative body for one.
So I don't want to keep delaying this because we need to keep moving along. I'm fairly sure we already have a procedure in our policy and procedure manual about investigating concerns with employees.
I would like
think
to,
that
I would
we
like
could
to
use the
call
same
the
thing.
question.
Okay,
With the edits that you've agreed to, I'd like to call the question.
all right, so we have a motion, and I don't recall, can you tell me who made the motion?
What
again?
exactly is,
I'm asking,
At the
I'm
very
asking that
beginning,
we
right.
vote.
Yeah, I understand that. I just
Yes.
want to restate it.
Is this, okay. Can you hear me okay, Matt, on this? I don't hear myself.
You're talking to just us.
Right, okay. I was going to mention, based on your initial motion, it was on the proposal as presented in the packet. There are modifications to it now, in my experience, and I would defer also to the clerk.
To be amended.
That an amended motion is typically made on the proposed resolution as amended. that is my experience, and I felt I
Well,
needed to know.
first, I would like to read Resolution 2514. Resolution to adopt the Whitewater Township Code of Ethical Conduct as amended. Whereas the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees recognizes the importance of maintaining public trust, transparency, and integrity in all township operations. And whereas the board acknowledges its responsibility to adopt clear ethical standards to ensure that elected officials, appointed officials, employees act in the best interests of the residents of Whitewater Township. And whereas the Michigan compiled laws and the Open Meetings Act establishes legal frameworks for transparency, conflict of interest, and ethical obligations of public officials. And whereas the Whitewater Township Board seeks to align township policy with best practices consistent with Grand Traverse County's Code of Ethics and the Michigan Township Association recommendations, now therefore be it resolved that the Whitewater Township Board of Trustees hereby adopts the attached amended Whitewater Township Code of Ethics, Conduct, and Governance Policy effective immediately upon passage of this resolution.
I have a question about defining the amended policy. Does this include the revised language we've discussed to the second bullet point in section 5?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Yep,
Okay.
I would agree with that.
All right. So,
Is that the only amendment?
No, 11, to say reported suspected violations to the sound trip supervisor or clerk in writing.
yes.
Excuse me.
So there are two areas of change, number 5 and number 11.
Yes.
I can support that with an idea that we come back to this and add the other material there about from Grand Traverse County
For the,
at a later time.
for like the investigation and
Investigation
and the
criteria.
appeal process.
I think
Is
that will
what-
take some time to do,
Right.
but I don't want to hold this up either, so.
That was kind of my intent that
And that
we,
might be a good policy and procedure manual kind of thing to go over, at our other meeting.
So it may be that, too, that some of that goes into the policies and procedures manual.
right, and what I would want to see is, like Joe was saying, that there's an opportunity to appeal or to be aware of a complaint of a violation and to appeal that with whatever evidence or proof you may have or whatever it might be before it becomes a public meeting kind of a situation. There should be a process, I think. But you're right. I mean, some of the county's policy had some good stuff on that, but not all of it,
Right, and we got to weave it into our policy manual.
Right.
Within the law.
Right, okay. So there's 3 changes to the basic motion here that we changed. Number 5 as discussed, number 11 as we discussed, and that we, with the intention of revisiting the enforcement administrative procedures from Grand Traverse County and weaving that into our manual.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so motion made originally by Tim Aarons and seconded by, I'm asking for who seconded it, okay?
Wendy did.
I'm just making sure.
Hoaxma seconded the original motion.
Right,
Tim,
and
when you
then,
said you were going to read this, were you making another motion?
and
Well, it
so,
kind of, yeah.
motion originally made by Aaron, seconded by Hoaxma, discussion took place. The motion was then amended, correct, Tim, with the 3 areas as just discussed. So the areas were section 5 to expand the second bullet point. Then I have that text written down, and to add the word in writing for reporting violations.
So Milnick made a friendly amendment.
Is that what that is? Milnick made a friendly amendment. Okay.
Can we put a time frame on when we will revisit this? Because this could end up being put on the back burner with,
I think any board member can ask that anything be put
That's
on
it.
an agenda
That's exactly right. So if you would like to be the person to investigate that,
whenever you're
go
prepared.
for it.
Ask that it be put on the agenda and it will be
Yep.
discussed.
All right. All right, so Milnick made an amendment to enumerate the areas of change. I will second his amendment to the motion. Is that correct procedure? No.
No, I will, I will accept the friendly amendment and
And then,
Wendy
and it
Wendy
stands.
accepts it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, roll call.
Roll call vote when ready.
Who is seconding the amended the amended
if-
motion?
If I seconded already and then he did an amendment, it's,
He made a friendly amendment. I accepted it. She accepted
Okay,
it.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify all of this, so I get it
Okay.
correct. Thank you.
we're all there.
Okay, roll call ready.
Aaron's,
Yes.
Kester,
No, only because I think it's incomplete.
Milnick,
Yes.
Hoeksema, yes, Slopesma.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion carried. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the PrAC bylaw discussion / review.
So just looking over the PrAC bylaws, I just can see there's a bunch of things that are going beyond the scope of what a committee can do. So that's the only really the things that I had wrong with that bylaws. And I don't know if you would just want to go over them or if you want to just send them back to the PrAC and say, here's some proposed things to change and then have them come back to us again.
Yeah, I guess in this meeting, I think we should hear what those are. If you have them highlighted, the highlighted or the written stuff didn't.
I have a proposed one.
In the, I thought it was going to be in the packet, but this is
It
just,
was, yeah.
I don't see anything
The
written.
orange highlighted parts.
Yeah, I don't see the highlight showing up in what I downloaded.
I don't either.
So that's why I'm just saying if you could just state them publicly, and then I think you're right. The best thing would be for Jill to take them back. to
Yeah, so
PrAC.
there's like a bunch of things like, you know, like it still has, the liaison can participate. Well, I think that's redundant. 60 days written notice for the fact that the Whitewater Township trustees, that a successor may be appointed. Oh, that's fine. I don't know why I highlighted that one.
It's not their role. That's a board, that's a board
Oh,
responsibility.
okay. So they don't wish to be considered for reappointment?
No, the 60 days that I thought they noted was if somebody resigns.
Oh, okay.
That they would continue. I thought that was how the context of that. You'd have to give me section and item number of anything.
Section 1 and C.
Unable or unwilling to serve during the entire term and do not wish to be considered should provide 60 days advance written notice to the Board of Trustees. That's a courtesy, but that's more of a board policy, not a Parks and Rec policy.
So are you saying to omit that? I guess I'm just not following what,
I'm
it
not,
would be nice if they gave us a 60-day warning if they weren't able to commit.
So the committee like serves at the pleasure of the board, so they can be removed at any time. So if they don't want to serve, I mean, I guess they could be talking to the supervisor. You could keep it in there. The next page for the B, so committees usually cannot set, like, and prepare their own agendas. They really need the board for new agenda items, and so the liaison really should be telling them if they could have things on the agenda. And then it just needs to say like that they can't put out their own minutes kind of thing. It has to be through the clerk. Another thing that I had in here, section 3, meetings, regular meetings, it says if a meeting is to be held at a location other than the township hall, I don't think that is a correct practice for that. The next one is the special meetings. Special meetings may be called, by the chairperson or 2 members of the advisory committee. I think there needs to be a limit on that because there's been quite a few of that. And it's costing a lot of money. The agenda being modified by a quorum of the committee, that is not a committee action. That is in section 3C. And their voting may be adopted by a majority vote. They're advisory only, so it must go in writing to the board for them to adopt anything. They do not adopt resolutions. There's just these little things like this, like, all minutes and shall be open to the public, that kind of thing. But at direction of the board. I'm sorry?
They're not doing that, are they? They're sending the meeting minutes to you.
Yeah, but it doesn't really say that in here. That's what I'm saying. It needs
Okay.
to just clarify it. I just think that it needs to
So one-
clarify that it's
so-
at the direction of the board kind of thing.
One thing about special meetings, it says they may be called by written request to the clerk. I'm not sure that's happening. I think that they call and tell you to post it.
Yep.
And so that's part of the board oversight of it, is that these meetings cost money. We pay these people for every meeting that they have.
Right.
And that's why that's in there, that there's a process.
But it's
Now-
not really my say to say, yeah, you can have the meeting or you can't have the meeting,
Well, it puts the clerk in an odd
Yeah.
situation. What if the clerk said no,
Right.
But I don't know if it should be.
That might be when the
To me,
clerk was a
to me, it
clerk.
seems like it should be the supervisor, not the clerk, but I don't know.
Well, in this, just to clarify this particular item, special meetings were approved at budget time because of the 5-year plan. We knew we were going to have work bee sessions, so that
Yeah,
was
but-
all budgeted for. We have
This
money
still
in
stands
the.
alone.
Yeah.
It's a-
Yeah, but I don't know about, I don't know how hardcore of a rule we want with setting a certain number, because every 5 years, it'll be different in the
But
years
you
going
can always
forward.
go
There's
to
a
the
lot
board
right
and say,
now.
hey, we need more. That's what we
Yeah,
did.
they'd have to do that.
Yeah.
So I think the key as to why they have to communicate it in writing to the clerk is because the clerk has required actions in order to be compliant to the law.
Right.
That's why,
Postings, and yeah.
but at the same time, it should really be the clerk indicating what's the minimum notice. It's the legal requirement is 18 hours, but that's 18 hours and the paper's on the door and it's on the website. That's complete. So they had 24 hours in here. Quite frankly, that's probably a little tight for issuing a special meeting. But
It says 48 hours.
I'm sorry, I thought it said 24 hours.
That's
Did I misread that? Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
it says 48,
Okay.
but that's not always happening either.
All right, so there's a compliance problem with that, in that it's not in writing. Is that what I'm hearing? It's not in writing necessarily?
I think it's sent
It's
by
been
email,
email.
but it's coming in
Okay,
late,
so
for
it is
sure.
email.
Yeah.
Everybody's schedules have been very, very hard to coordinate.
I guess
So-
it's just basically firming up what a committee does and that it's under the direction of the board.
So now
basically
that we
that's-
approved the code of conduct, should there be something in here, in their bylaws, that requires members, kind of under the appointment section,
So
to,
they do have a section 6 for conflict of interest.
Yeah, they do.
well, that's kind of, yeah, but does it talk about how they have to sign?
Says, in the event of a conflict is declared, the members shall remove themselves from the meeting table until the agenda item is concluded.
Right, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, we have a code of conduct policy now. Should that be?
We should just reference.
Should that be
Integrated.
in there that appointed members are required to sign a code of conduct policy annually or something? In all the bylaws now that we've approved that, because it extends to all appointed members, right? So in the bylaws for the planning commission, Randy should take that back and have them consider adding this to their bylaws as well.
Yeah, I think there is a conflict of interest section in there. And, well, I know there is.
Right, but this is
Yeah, but
more
I
than
think we
conflict of interest.
should, we should reference what.
They're going to
the-
be signing, being aware of it too.
Yeah.
It's a little more sticky with the planning commission with,
So Jill, do they
Topics
let
that they
you
deal with, but-
vote at the meetings? Do you vote?
but we need to link them.
I'm not supposed to, am I?
I thought so, according to this.
Oh, I don't think
Have the
so.
ability to participate in discussions of the committee.
Where are you?
That's the section 1 membership, the liaisons.
I don't think she votes, does she?
I'm not supposed to
It's
vote.
definitely not clear in the governance document. I have a couple simple ones, and I'm happy to just give you these sheets, Jill. So They're pretty simple. Section 1, item F, park manager. We don't have one right now, and we don't know what the future of that is. And quite frankly, this is not their authority to specify what the park manager does or doesn't do. We need to decide what we're doing relative to that, and I think we need to update our general ordinance would be the proper place. And then once we update the general ordinance, you know, they do restate several things that are in the general ordinance, which is fine.
And this proposed one, I just put campground representative can attend meetings and when requested by the board to provide project updates.
But I do think that whole situation needs, we know that we have issues. We need to have improved clarity about what the role is, or maybe the board will decide that they want to appoint some representative of the campground park to be a member of the PrAC. That might be something that we would entertain. But right now, we need to remove this because we don't have a person in this position.
Yeah, I agree with
The
that.
other,
Also recognize this is a lot probably to throw at them right this second, but.
right, and it's, I mean, the house isn't burning down, so they can work on it. It doesn't have to be done immediately. The other thing is this issue about electing officers. I understand if they're unable to have an election due to a lack of quorum, that should move to the next regular meeting. It shouldn't be open-ended. This says it's open-ended. And it's, it just says until they're able to do so. That's a little open. The last thing that surprised me was section 4B. It said prepare an annual report to the Township Board of Trustees. My only question on that was, do they actually do that? I wasn't familiar with that being an action that was completed. So it's just a question. So I think I had comments. Wendy, you have some comments. I'm happy to provide them for their consideration. Pass that down to Jill. Is there any other discussion on this?
It does reference ordinance 48, which is the ordinance that created them in the first place.
Yep.
And I agree with the comments on the park manager too, that's really how the park manager can be compelled to attend meetings based upon the bylaws of the PrAC.
No, I think they should be compelled to do so either in their employment contract or description of duties or in the general ordinance.
Right, I agree.
And we need to decide what that looks like. Any other comments or questions that Jill, do you have?
No,
Any
I
more?
think this is good. So one is yours and one is Wendy's as
Blue
far as the
ink
comments?
is, the blue ink is mine. Sorry,
Okay.
the one with the holes punched in, that's mine.
That's your, the current one is the orange highlighted and then the proposed one, which is in the same style.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment rule change. Tim drafted this up. It's the last page in your packet.
Does anyone have any clarifying questions before I discuss the reason for it, or is there a motion?
So does everybody understand what changed?
Yeah, I can answer clarifying questions if
I have a question. Is there a distinction between general public comment and comments for public hearings?
the rules
Currently,
read
no.
the same.
The same, the rules are the same.
Okay, well, that's just an area I would like to explore there, because I think there's a difference between, in my own mind, this is maybe a philosophical thing, but that a public hearing is created to get public input, and about a particular topic, and it's more narrowly focused. When you have public comment at the beginning and end of the meeting, it can be on anything, right, according to our bylaws. So constraining that discussion within two areas that are not immediately pressing, they are in the mind of the person speaking that, of course, but it's not necessarily related to an agenda item or even a current
Well,
topic.
at the PC's last public hearing, there were people that spoke on the same issue more than one time. Somebody would speak at the beginning, a bunch of people spoke in the middle, and another person, then the person would come back and speak again. So that was even violating what was read to the public about speaking more than once on the same thing. So that's why.
I'm just drawing a distinction between a public hearing.
I think that's going to be up to the chair, isn't it? How they want to run that meeting? Do you think, Linda? I mean, that's,
Yeah,
The public hearing has to be on to that specific topic, though.
I think the public hearing we had on Tuesday, I believe I made that clear, that the start of the meeting was on general topics and that they were not that there would be a different public comment period to address their concerns with the topic of the public hearing. So all that this does is the content of item 4 under public comment is the same. The only thing is the sentence, no, or the phrase, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter has been stricken. So this, and again, I've come to understand the reason for that phrase was to limit a person to commenting on a topic once per meeting. This basically clears the way that they can speak to the board about an issue of their concern prior to decisions being made, and then they can speak again on that topic after a decision has been made because their comment may be different. And I believe that is what has been happening lately, and I believe that is appropriate. That's my opinion.
and we had a person at a planning commission meeting that told the chair, well, I'm going to talk 3 minutes on this topic, and then I'm going to use another 3 minutes on this topic. And he's like, no, you
So
get
they
3
were
minutes. But then there was
confused.
confusion about what that meant about, well, you know, so this just gets rid of that entire issue. If I want to speak about something twice, speak about it twice, whatever.
But the time limit remains the same.
Whatever the chair,
Currently,
whatever the
it
chair
says it
sets.
shall not exceed 5 minutes.
And
So
just to clarify, you're saying that if they have 3 subjects that they want to talk about, they still only have 5 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, so I just want to make that clear to everybody.
Right.
It's not real clear in the wording here.
It's not.
So I
it's
think
not much
now
of a
that
change.
we remove the whole thing about not speaking more than once, it just will say the chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 5 minutes, excluding the time needed to answer board questions.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve the change to policy rule 2.4D, meeting agendas, part E4, to read, the chair shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 5 minutes, excluding the time needed to answer board member questions.
I'll second.
Motion made by Slopsma, seconded by Kester. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Thank you for bringing that, Tim.
Excuse me, Linda, before you go forward, for the purpose of the minutes, could I just verify that no board action is being taken regarding the PrAC bylaws?
That's correct. Feedback was provided to the board representative. The last item on the agenda tonight is discussion of LIAA video audio meeting service continuation and any other feedback. Tim, I think you
Right.
were working on that.
So Matt is here from LIAA, and they've been working with the township the last couple months for the planning commission and our board. And I did ask Randy, reviewed your meeting. You had this similar thing on your agenda for discussion about the benefits of using LIAA as opposed to a board member running Zoom and doing this and that. But I heard that your members found it a benefit. I have found it to be a benefit. And today I met with Matt about some things in the room. There's certain things that we have that can be useful to us. And there's certain things that he has recommendations that we change. Since we've been using these, I've not heard anybody say, I can't hear you. It's just the microphone system that we had here. I think the most important thing to people is to be able to hear, not necessarily see us as much as hear what is going on in the meeting. And I think that these have been a benefit to that. So he has a recommendation, and Matt, I didn't know if you wanted to come up and just talk about your something that could be done pretty quickly, easily, for us to, at least as far as the audio part of our meetings, how we could better do this.
Yeah, so as you can see, the microphones that you are on the floor are the ones that are the township microphones. They are good microphones, but they are more difficult to use in meetings because they're not meant to be used far away from the speaker. So just changing those over to gooseneck style microphones, like the ones in front of you right now, would be a pretty affordable way to just increase the clarity of the audio in this space. And then just doing some cable management. It would also clean up the desktops because there wouldn't be the same large stands. They would look more like these. They wouldn't be wireless like these ones are because those are significantly more expensive and require a little bit more expertise to set up each time. So that it wouldn't be a major reconfiguration. It would just be new microphones. And then also currently the Zoom feed, and nothing is wrong with this equipment, but the Zoom feed is not getting audio from these microphones or from when we do it, yes. It is, but prior to us doing these meetings, the Zoom audio was coming through a small puck. So it wasn't getting clear audio in the room because it wasn't coming from the microphones that were in front of you. It was coming from a puck in the center of the room. There was just one microphone for the whole room. So just reconfiguring it with an inexpensive device that allows the Zoom to connect directly to the audio board would significantly increase the audibility of Zoom. I did mention at a previous meeting that I do think if you are going to run Zoom with two-way communication, you should have a person that I think that is dedicated to just that. Zoom meetings are deceptively, they do seem simple to run, but when there's no room for tech issues to occur, then they suddenly become much more difficult. When the margin for error is close to zero, it's much more difficult because everyone knows when you've tried to have Zoom meetings in your personal life, it's not uncommon for tech issues to pop up. So I think it would be significantly easier to just stream the meetings. That's what we do for a lot of other townships. But with Zoom, I definitely think there should be a person dedicated to just that. But those minor equipment changes, just the microphones, the addition of gooseneck style microphones instead of the handheld style microphones, and then the addition of a device that allows the Zoom computer to directly be fed from the soundboard would dramatically improve audio quality in this room. And then later on, I think there could be other additions as well. If it was deemed necessary, of just a camera mounted in the corner or in the center of the ceiling to be the Zoom camera instead of this one, or this one could be mounted in a different location, and I think it would improve the performance of how the camera reframes. So I think there could be some low-cost changes to be made that would dramatically improve things. But it's not uncommon for townships, especially small townships, to often be set up with equipment that's not exactly conducive at first, and then that needs reconfiguration. So I think it's mostly reconfiguration and a few smaller purchases that I would recommend.
Can I ask you, are the speakers that we have sufficient? Like, I'm not sure if you're using ours or yours right now.
I believe they would be sufficient. And I believe the problem, I think, is just that those microphones pretty much only get good audio if you're within 3 or 4 inches of the microphone capsule, and then it dramatically falls off as you get farther away. So we're not using your speakers right now, but it's just because of it's simpler to set up with ours, but I do think they would be adequate.
Okay.
Then he was talking about, because sometimes we have joint meetings and there's, 9 planning commissioners, whatever, but drilling holes in the tables here, like there'd be 2 here and 2 on each one, and then it'd be these without this part, and they would just be mounted into the table.
Yeah, it would be really simple to remove the microphones from the tables, and it would be cleanly mounted. It wouldn't just be like a hole drilled in the table. It would have like a mounting ring that would be put in that place, and then the microphones could just click in and click out really easily. And then I would just do some cable management, routing the cables down the legs of the tables, making a little bit, just tidying that, because currently every single microphone is running to the audio board through its own individual cable, but they could all be grouped together pretty easily, and it would make it easier to set up and move the room around as well.
And then a couple handhelds, and this is all within your and Wendy's spending authority for these kind of changes. So it's just something that I asked him to put a proposal for us together on just, I suppose, give us a proposal on the video portion of it, and we might have to have more discussion about what we want to do with that, but.
Yeah, that's actually my last, so I understand we've talked about equipment and how to finesse the equipment to get it to work better, but then my remaining question, and I think, Matt, when you and I spoke before, you said that you can help us. It sounds like we have a choice to make whether we want to just restrict using Zoom to when we're actually having a public hearing and want to be able to offer that two-way communication for a public hearing. But I think you kind of mentioned it in passing to just stream direct. So just basically the audio and video feed direct to like YouTube, for example. I think that's what you were trying to say for like everyday business, like standard meeting like tonight's.
Yeah, we work with a number of other townships in the region, and I don't have a strong personal opinion either way. I mean, it's up to the board and the constituents of a given township, but it's not common for any of the boards in this region that I know of to use Zoom for two-way communications on a regular basis. All of the townships that we work with stream their meetings to YouTube or Facebook or another platform. And then we also stream, since we operate the local government TV channel on Charter, some of the jurisdictions also stream their meetings live to the cable channel. All of them replay their meetings on the cable channel later, but none of the townships that we work with, and at this point it's about 9 from 4 regular, or 6 regularly, 9 total right now. None of them use Zoom for two-way communications with the public at this point.
Okay, so it's
Other than Whitewater Township.
so it sounds like we can still use our equipment though to stream direct to YouTube. Should we, am I
Yes.
understanding you correctly?
There might be a few small additions that would be needed, but they wouldn't be costly. Or, I mean, they wouldn't be large purchases.
Okay,
I do think it's possible with the current configuration.
so, and that would save some effort from the public, I would think, by there would be, they would just be able to go to that YouTube channel and they would be able to watch it.
It's easier to configure one-way communication because you don't have to do any special audio routing. Two-way communication, every time the person from outside speaks, all of these microphones have to be muted or else it would feed back. And Zoom is doing like actually pretty sophisticated muting and unmuting in the background that no one notices, but it makes it much more complicated to do two-way communication without feedback. So going in one direction just to YouTube is significantly easier. It's also easier to set up each one, and we could even have a device here that just is always aimed at a specific YouTube account, and you hit one button on it and it goes live. So it'd just be one physical button.
Okay. All right, good. So I think the next step is to just get the proposal from you and review it.
Okay.
And then we can go ahead and start upgrading equipment.
I've got a question also. So I know we've talked in the past, is there any likelihood that you would be able to facilitate the Zoom meetings remotely rather than having to be here if there were, I'm just thinking in terms of reducing costs and if the cameras were installed and.
It's definitely possible, yes. We do that for some of the other townships that we work with for just the Zoom portion. Most of the other townships we work with do have cameras installed that an operator on site needs to control in order to actually reposition the cameras during the meeting and switch between them. But for small townships, I would propose just having a single camera or maybe two that are always up. And then for Zoom facilitation remotely, we could do that if we set up a remote control for this computer here. I could remotely control this from offsite, and that would be definitely possible.
So that would result in some cost savings then for us?
Yeah, I think,
that.
yeah, it would.
That way.
And it would result in cost savings if we were using all of the township's equipment as well, because part of the hourly rate increases as more equipment is brought out. But once, because it's significantly more configuration to do each time, there'd be less setup when there's when there's more conducive equipment in place. And we wouldn't be charging as high of an hourly rate. And then if we didn't come out, it would be a lower rate as well, because we're currently not charging transportation or travel to come, so.
Other questions for Matt? Okay, well, we appreciate all your support you've provided lately. It has alleviated a lot of frustration, I think, for both the board and for the public, such that people can actually see and have a decent recording, so thank you.
Great.
A lot of good feedback from.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad. We're happy to be working with you. And is it okay if I just say one other thing, just to clarify? Just to clarify, we're not an equipment vendor. We're a local nonprofit that operates public educational government media channels. And so we wouldn't be proposing to sell equipment to you, is what I'm saying, is we'd be proposing to essentially offer short-term tech support to get it set up, and then recommendations of devices to purchase as well. And then if it was deemed necessary to draft RFPs for those things, though I'm not sure if that would be necessary, because I think a lot of them will be small purchases, then we could also help with drafting RFP language.
Okay, good. All right, we have no tabled items. The next thing is board comments discussion. Does anybody have any additional board comments or discussion? I have one item. I would like to answer Mike Jacobson's question about length of time that will be allowed at the upcoming public hearing on the 30th of September for the civil infraction. So I think you heard us discuss the public comment rules. Those will be the same public comment rules. So comments shall not exceed 5 minutes. The chair has the authority to reduce the amount of time if there is many people in the room, and also to request that people consolidate their comments. I realize that's not always possible. Not everybody knows everybody. And so, and I would like to say that I did investigate that with the attorney and received the feedback that we are not required to give unlimited time. We are required to be fair to people. And so not allow one person to go a long time and then cut other people off. And that includes, after a certain amount of time, a public hearing can be suspended and then reconvened to continue the comments if it gets to be too lengthy. So I wanted to provide that feedback. I think, Randy, you were involved in that communication with the attorney. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, that was his answer. I mean, the question is what's legal and what can be decided to be done. So there's a difference.
So I think we all realize, based on prior feedback, that this is a big issue for the community. The whole purpose of a public hearing is to hear from the public. And so that's why we moved it to Mill Creek. And yes, but I think it was a good question, and thank you for asking it, Michael. Anybody have anything further? Okay, I've got announcements. The next regular board meeting is September 25th at 9 a.m. That's a Thursday. Then on September 30th, 2025, at 6 p.m., there will be the civil infraction ordinance. That's a special meeting at Mill Creek Academy. And that's all I have for announcements. Anybody else have any other announcements? All right, then it's time for public comment. Who would like to make a public comment?
Back to sign in again. Randy Steele. I just wanted to say thanks tonight, guys. Good meeting. I really appreciate these guys with sound and all that. And I'm glad you guys do too. Just some feedback for you. They've been super helpful, and I hope we can figure out how to make it even easier and better. I'm all about that. The public hearing time thing you just talked about, I just wanted to mention in 5 minutes, maybe seems like a long time, to you guys to have to sit here and listen to us. But that unlimited one we had the other day where we were just talking, it felt like that was a good discussion. I was hearing good things from people. I was getting a lot more than the little 5-minute tidbits. People were much more inclined to get out their point of view, and we were hearing things we hadn't heard before and stuff like that. So I would hope that you might consider that when you guys are coming up with time frames for, public hearings anyway.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but the mute switch got hit on this microphone, and I'm really sorry.
No, that's all right.
Oh, I see. Well, it's way better. Anyway, thank you, guys. I just, pardon? Oh, thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have a public comment?
Kim Mangus. Just for what it's worth, the ethics policy for the county does not apply to townships. Just like Randy's reaction, how would they come up with, they can't do that. It was bothering me. I called, I talked to the person in charge of it. It only applies to county employees. So it does not apply to the township, despite the fact that I think they have a much better policy overall. So for what it's worth, as you go forward and put some control measures on what's going on your process, you've agreed that that's something that you could add from the county's policy to the townships. I would ask you to also consider an evaluation of the rules of necessity. I don't know, Linda, if you remember from the Planning Commission, that was something that was insisted on by our ZA and was reviewed by Patterson and recommended to us to add into our bylaws under conflict of interest. In a nutshell, it says that even if 4 members of the township board have a conflict, a perceived conflict, a financial conflict, a personal conflict, or some or all of the above, you can't just not do business, so that can be waived under the rules of necessity. That is something that can come forward, especially as we're dealing with short-term rentals, but with many topics. It is a little bit to wrap your head around. I would encourage you to take a look at that and maybe look at adding that to your policy when you go back and put some review measures in. The other item I would really like to ask you to do, preserve Zoom, if at all possible. It took a lot for this community to get up to Zoom so people could participate. If you're not going to preserve two-way communication, restore, I shouldn't say preserve, restore two-way communication via Zoom, please restore letters being posted in your agendas. It may not be a mandate of law, but it is a respect for the community, a respect for the people that took the time to share their insight, wisdom, thoughts, feelings, whatever it is, with the board. If you're not going to have Zoom comment, at least put letters back into your packets. And the last item, I respectfully request, stop adding anything to your agenda. If it isn't urgent, if it isn't time sensitive, if it doesn't demand immediate payment, don't change anything on the agenda. Your meetings really go sideways when things get chucked in front of you. You're not prepared, you haven't researched, you haven't had time to process. It's just a recipe for disaster, and it's not helping a really shaky and tenuous relationship with the public. We feel like, especially when you change an agenda in the middle of the meeting, not even during the change of agenda portion of the meeting, it makes us feel like if we're not sitting here for 4 hours, we don't know what you did, because you could have, not at the beginning of the meeting, at any point, you might have thrown something else in there, like a censure or a policy or a vote or spending money. It's not helping, and it's making a touchy situation much worse. So I would politely ask that you please consider, if that comes forward, no. You have meetings every 2 weeks. Almost everything can wait 2 weeks. Thank you.
Mike Jacobson, again. First off, thanks for making that change to the public comment portion. I think that was a great move. I'd like to back up some of the stuff Kim said. I already had it written down, but I agree with a lot that she said. And the Zoom thing is a very important thing. Not like, there's a lot of people that are concerned about what's going on in this community, but they don't live here full time. They own houses here, they pay taxes here. They're concerned about the issues here, but they're somewhere else at the moment. They still want to be able to participate. I think it's important that they can. And I know this community worked a long time to get that and wanted it, so that it's disappeared is a shame. The part about that she talked about reading the letters, I know a lot of people when they're writing a letter, or I should say, a lot of people that have talked to me comment that they wrote a letter and it didn't get read at public comment, and they're concerned that most of the board didn't even see it. And even if it goes in your packet, that doesn't mean that everybody read it. I was on the planning commission for a long time, and it was very obvious at many different meetings that some of the people in the meeting didn't read the whole packet. And sometimes that's a time constraint, sometimes it's laziness, sometimes it's an individual preference. When a person takes the time to write a letter and expects it to be read at public comment, I mean, I think we owe it to them. I think the township owes it to them, that every individual's opinion or belief or concern is just as important as the next person. And a lot of people write those letters because public speaking is not in their repertoire. Okay, it's very well-known common fact. Most people are very timid about public speaking. So to take that voice away from those people seems a shame to me. And that's a big reason why I asked if I could read my wife's letter, because she is not willing to, she does not want to do that. she has an opinion and she's frustrated with something, like to no wit's end, but she does not want to stand here in the public and do it. She wants her words to be heard, but she doesn't, this is not her thing, as many people. Also, I agree with what Kim said about amending the agenda in the middle of the meeting. There is a part in the beginning of the meeting where we ask, you ask every time, does anybody have a change to the agenda? And Wendy had one this time. That should have been the only change to the agenda. To change the agenda in the middle of the meeting, in my opinion, is unethical. We just spent a bunch of time in this room tonight talking about ethical behavior. In my opinion, that's unethical to change the agenda after that part of the meeting, after that bullet point in the meeting agenda. And then about that, I find it ironic that the board is willing to behave that way, but they want to, they're working pretty hard to push this civil infraction ordinance down our throat so they can hold the public to the letter of the rules. Well, are we saying that you guys can be human and make mistakes, but the public can't? That, I mean, if you're gonna ask the public to follow the letter of the rule to the T, then don't we think the board should too? I appreciate all your time and your effort. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, anybody else that would like to make a public comment? All right, none further. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Seconded by Milnick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.